Well, Batwoman swung in to television. Well, all right. So, the trailers were notorious for how hated they were. And it's like the YouTube, like and dislike the ratios was just awful. And of course, none of the trailers did any favors for this show. Now, this is just the pilot, and pilots, more times than not, are not a true indication of what the series is. The biggest problem for this is just it's so boring. It's very lackluster. The fight scenes are terrible because, once again, this was already a problem. You've got this very small, toothpick-limbed supermodel taking on these bulky men. And in a few moves, you can see where, they're just stupid and they screw up and she gets the drop on them. But for the most part, these are terribly choreographed fight scenes. And at one point, she almost shoots herself in the face twice. and just it just wouldn't work. And even the villain, who's really just another bore fest. This is supposed to be Alice, and there was an Alice, and she is the Joker for Batwoman. But surprise, surprise, if you read the comics, you already know the big spoiler at the end of the episode, which is, even if you didn't know the comics, you had to have seen this coming a mile away. Alice is her long-lost, believed to be dead sister. But anyway, she actually seems to be more impressive in the fight scenes to where, and she actually does get the better of Batwoman, because Batwoman is so small and she's just throwing her around. It's not almost, it is pretty silly to see that. So that's one of the major technical problems of it. Of course, the trailers presented it as this leftist message for women, for gay people, and all this sort of thing. Her being gay is really rather minor to the story overall. It was always a part of the Batwoman's origin when they first came up with Batwoman and the idea that she'd been in the Marines, and then they got found out she was gay, and back then you couldn't openly serve. You couldn't serve openly gay. And then, that was done away with. So I'm guessing by her age, she's just under the wire there for that to still be a credible story for the character. But eventually they'll have to think of something else for how that would be, put her in the business. But in this story, it's not so much part of the origin. In the original, she gets booted out of the Marines. She doesn't know what to do with herself, and then she has an encounter with Batman, and that inspires her to become Batwoman. The end. She was not. Maybe later on they did reveal in the comic book series. After the original team left that series, so did I. I wasn't interested in it anymore. And for the most part, just the artwork was really cool. It was the same guy who did the Prometheus series and stuff like that. But anyway, I don't think she was ever depicted as having been Bruce Wayne's cousin and all this sort of thing. So this is a very different Batwoman from the comic book series, and not as good as that one. The technical problems, she's too small and all that sort of stuff, which you could fix, that she got good with the gadgets and it gave her an edge and all this sort of stuff. The rest of the story is that, there's a distance between her and her father. And the villain, Alice, taunts her and says that her father doesn't want her, doesn't like her, he's disappointed in her, and actually has replaced her with this woman who used to be her girlfriend because she's just more impressive to him. And I guess the insinuation is that he's disappointed in her being a lesbian and doesn't know that this girl was her girl, which how would he not know, especially since she got booted out? I don't know. But she's since gotten married to a man. And she's all heartbroken and really surprised and everything. So I guess that was some insinuation there. But after being taunted about this by Alice, it's like she accepts it and goes and angrily argues with her father about not being allowed into his security organization, the Crows, and all this sort of stuff. And it's not true. It's obvious what the problem is. He's down to his one daughter. He doesn't know that his other daughter is still alive. His wife and their mother is dead. And so it's blatantly obvious he's terrified of losing his daughter. And so it's his overwhelming love for her is why he doesn't involve her in his, dangerous security company and all that sort of thing. And even after all that, she's giving her little speech. I'm on the run from the world that doesn't want me. The military didn't want me. My father didn't want me. You just got the explanation from. He confesses the whole thing and says, I'm terrified of losing you. All that stuff. And so they set her up as being quite the a-hole when she's not being so very bland and boring. The only one, well, no, I was going to say that the villain is almost as boring as Batwoman, but it's pretty close. so it's just drab and bland and the whole thing and the setup in and of itself. If it had been closer to the original origin, which you're always going to have the shadow of Batman over this whole thing because it's yet another Batman show that doesn't have Batman in it. But the way they've set it up, because the idea is a mystery. Where Bruce Wayne's missing, Batman's missing, and nobody knows what happened, where he is, and all that. So then it sets it up. You're waiting for Batman to return, so she can never be her own show, and they made it that way. Whereas had he been around, had they did like a guest spot, no, Batman was there, or she just had the flashback where she saw him and that inspired her, and. And in the original comic books, she's actually, I think they changed her father to a villain later, but in the original concept of how they set it up, her father was actually helping her out. And she had her own, her bat suit and everything. She wasn't just stealing everything from Bruce Wayne. Plus, she has this kind of obsession with Bruce Wayne and wanting to be him and stuff, so I guess that there's that. And plus, he was haunted by the fact that he was there when she and her sister and her mother were in the car crash, and he tried to save them and failed, or couldn't save the mother and the sister, and all that. And at the time, Kate Kane, Batwoman, blamed Batman for their deaths, and now realized the truth. And oh my God, I didn't understand. And so. Who knows why he disappeared? I guess they'll have little droplets of that. And I don't know if this will be similar to how Supergirl was, where they bring in Superman for the follow-up season. So maybe they'll cast somebody to be Batman for a few cameos here and there, and then they can just move on from that. And he's around, but this is her story, and we'll deal with her adventures and all that sort of thing. But it's just a really lackluster, boring send-off, which brings us back to why the emphasis on her sexuality and social justice and all this sort of thing, because they got nothing else. And that's almost always why this stuff is emphasized on these movies and TV shows, because the end product itself is just not good and has nothing going for it. And so you got to do that. And then, well, if you don't like this show, it means you hate gay people or you hate women, and so on and so forth. Whatever you want to, use for this. And again and again and again. And why? Because it just doesn't have anything else. Which, let's say it did. What if it had been this really exciting show? Well, that would, it's just like, you're not advertising your show. But every time it's like, I mean, there have been a few moments back when all the Captain Marvel hysteria was going on and all that. And then when I actually started watching the movie, for a while there, I thought this might actually be good. And then, no, it fizzled out. So then, okay, so that's why you got to do this. And that's all it was about, token points and stuff like that. So, so it wasn't, overly preachy. I wouldn't say that, which you would expect from the advertising, and maybe the later shows will be. I mean, certainly Black Lightning and Supergirl have long since gone into that direction to their detriment. So it stands to reason it would be highly unlikely that Batwoman wouldn't do that. But I guess, might as well, because I don't see anything coming out of this. So, I don't know. It's just really, really boring. And that's about it. So, yeah, it wasn't leftist preachy, I didn't think. I mean, there's nods to that here and there. And you're going to get a lot of that from entertainment anyway. But ultimately, just a dud. So there you go. Batwoman on the CW. It's just one episode. Maybe it'll get better, but I'm dubious. Thank you for watching and listening. Say, why not like and subscribe, and check out that link description below. That'll take you to my many stores. Yeah, stores, right. That have plenty of goodies for you.